You're watching Sudut Pandang, and tomorrow we're going to see the start of the 23rd Asia Pacific Roundtable discussions. And Associate Professor Simon Tay, what do you think will be one of the key discussion at this roundtable?
I think we are meeting a particularly interesting time. The global crisis emanating from America has had impact on Asia, but the way Asia hopefully will come out stronger. And more than that, you must remember in '97 crisis, Asia actually became more cohesive in responding to the crisis. So besides the North Korea or Myanmar or the particular hot spots, this broader regional questions, how Asia is going to come together and come out of the crisis, I think that will be one of the key issues I'll be looking for. Papa Jawhar is the host, so you should actually ask him.
So since you are the host, I'll go to you now.
Well, I think it's quite comprehensive, the agenda, but it starts with what Simon said. I think for us the biggest problem now is the financial economic crisis and how Asia can respond and, as Simon said, perhaps even grow stronger, emerge stronger after this. Besides that, we are looking at other things. We have opportunity. There is a new administration in Washington, D.C., and that is having a positive impact in many ways around the world, and we are going to explore what kind of impact, what kind of opportunities does it provide in East Asia, U.S. relations here, in Northeast Asia, what are the opportunities, what are the challenges, Southeast Asia, etc., and relations between U.S., China, Japan, the triangular relationship, or North Korea, what's the current situation, where do we go from here, and then we are going to look also further afield, by the way, in Southeast Asia, we are also looking at the security situation in Thailand, in the south, in the Philippines, the situation in the Philippines. We are looking at South Asia, what's happening in South Asia, in the Middle East, Palestine. So it's quite wide-ranging, the topic. It's the conference, of course, will be opened by the Deputy Prime Minister and Dr. Surin Pitsuwan, the Secretary General of ASEAN. He will be giving the final keynote address. We hope at the end of the conference that we all leave much better informed and hopefully shed some light.
On the global financial crisis, fundamental causes and fundamental remedies, would it also involve looking at the global financial architecture, for example, because a lot have been said about alternative structures, and if we just save the financial situation and then start all over again with the same structure, we're not going to change much, because then it's going to happen again and we might not survive the second time. Your views on that?
Very true. I think the Asian voices at the G20 in London have already pushed for the IMF to be beefed up and to be reorientated to really help the emerging markets. But deeper change needs to happen. Who can forget that in '97 crisis, the Westerners and the international financial institution were telling us to do this thing. And today, they don't take their own advice. So I think that really, fundamentally, the system of governance in the West, but also globally, will need to be tweaked, if not radically changed, if we are to really go forward and prosper together.
Did you see the emergence of international Islamic financial architecture, for example, and system and institutions? That might be something put
one answer. Yeah, I think so. It's less, less risky. It's more regulated. It's less open to speculation. It's a way to go. But I think still the non-Islamic financial institutions will still remain dominant. And to me, just to supplement what Simon said, there has to be reform at the domestic level, particularly in the Western financial institutions, in the US and in Europe particularly, and there has to be this reform internationally. I think the easier thing to do would be the national one. The international one will be a bit more difficult, and I'm a little bit worried that if we come out of this quickly, I mean, I love that, of course, we all want that, the desire, the political will to do the necessary, take the difficult, painful things will be a bit more difficult. But I think we have to press for domestic better regulation, etc., in the US market, in Europe, and internationally. Yes, look at the international financial
It's been
institutions.
interesting to see the struggle between going for opening up of markets versus regulators' role in playing its part. But we have to wait until that happens. But I would like also to end with praising U.S. foreign policy under the Obama administration on tomorrow, 11:30. One of the key speakers will be Professor Kishore Mahbubani, for example. There's also Professor Koji Murata from Japan. But do you think that before this, the U.S. administration has always have somebody specific looking at West Asia, for example, but never this part of the world very much? So this time, with Obama's background in Indonesia, for example, do you think this is going to change? And maybe the definition of Islam, for example, will look at Southeast Asia as a model too, not just looking at it just from the West Asian perspective, for example?
Well, I think there are two different things. On Southeast Asia, I think it is overdue to come up. Because if you look at Hillary Clinton's first visit, she chose not only to go to China, Japan, and Korea, traditional choices, but specifically go to Indonesia and also the ASEAN Secretariat. I think in this sense, ASEAN will relatively, compared to the Bush years, come up in the reckoning of the new administration. It's early to say, but I think that will be the case. It will also be helped by the fact that rather than asking the Assistant Secretary to focus on North Korea, as they did with Christopher Hill, they have a special envoy. So this man can, the new appointment, can look more broadly at the region. Yeah. I think that Indonesia deserves and is overdue for greater recognition. But I hope that this recognition of Indonesia and its engagement of America will be more generally spread out to ASEAN.
Thank you, Associate Professor. We have 30 seconds. Transfit.
30
Anything
seconds?
you want to say about APR?
Oh, APR. No, I think on the US, I think, yeah, I share Simon's thing. I think, you know, sometimes we are worried. We don't want attention from the US. I mean, under Bush, for instance, we were so glad. Maybe, you know, they had a good policy towards China, but otherwise they ignored Asia, and that was good, because if they pay attention to Asia, we are worried it could be negative. But under Obama, I think there's going to be more constructive. I think there's going to be more attention on Asia, but more importantly, constructive attention. And very probably, the United States may come on board the East Asia Summit, you know, sign on to the Treaty of Amity and Cooperation, and I think that will be the beginning of good things.
Okay, thank you so much, Sir Transfit. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Professor. Thanks to you for watching. Hantarkan pandangan anda sendiri kepada Sudut Pandang and astro.com.wmv. Dan ingatlah, ASEAN akan menjadi satu komuniti, maka perhubungan di antara komuniti itu juga penting. Hantarkan pandangan anda sendiri, mungkin boleh dimasukkan, dan saya juga akan pergi ke Asia Pacific Roundtable untuk mengikuti diskusi di sana. Sekian, terima kasih dan selamat malam.